Ticket to Ride is far too long a game, thought no one ever. And here we are with Ticket to Ride New York. In the game, you do the usual actions of choosing up to two taxi cards. Taxis, not trains. You can select to draw two more tickets. You have to keep one, but you may discard one if you don't like them. And they have various points and routes on them. Or you can play cards of colours matching routes on the board to claim those routes, as this beautiful presentation will display right here. Grey spaces are, of course, wild. New to New York, covered up by my hand, are landmarks which score you 1 point as long as you have one route connected to them. Not a destination, but just one route. Of course, this does not simulate real driving in New York, which this picture neatly does. Ticket to Ride New York is the game that no one really realised they wanted until they play it. It is a quick, vicious, short version of any other Ticket to Ride game, really. The basics are all the same. The things you do on your turn are all the same. There's no complication like tunnels. There is wild spaces where you can play any colours, and there's these landmarks which can score you extra points which are thrown in. And that's the only kind of issue with the rules. It's not clear. Well, I thought it was clear, but I've seen online it's not clear whether you can only score each landmark once or twice per route. I play that you score it once as long as you have at least one route attached to it. That seems to make sense to me. But yeah, I was really dubious, like, will it work? Will it, how's this going to work? But a couple of interesting things happen. Because it's so fast, because you've only got 15 taxis, this is a fast game. And if you take two tickets at the start, then, well, that you're barely going to have enough cars to do two tickets and then a few more. The most I've ever got is 4 tickets, and the reason I got that was because I got super lucky with my first two. They were going to the same. Basically, I had tickets all along a diagonal line on the map, and that just worked out for me that time. And the luck of the draw in terms of the tickets is going to play more of a part in Ticket to Ride New York than it does in its older brothers and sisters, because it's so short, and because the map is smaller, there's less tickets, which means you're gonna cross over a lot more, and you're going to have much more luck in terms of getting ones that are nearby or cross over some of the paths you've already constructed. Whereas in large Ticket to Ride, the decision on the tickets is probably comes about the same time in the game if you're measuring it in percentages, but you feel like you've got much more time. If you take a ticket that's way off, there might be some measure in going after it still. In Ticket to Ride New York, if you get one that's way off, you probably have to cut your losses and discard that one. And it does mean that their strategies in tickets are a bit different. Really, you could grab a couple of more tickets on your first go, so you know exactly what you're doing, because 4 tickets is massive if you get to do them all, but then there's a risk of getting the minus points as per Ticket to Ride. It is because the routes are so short that you're only going a couple of hands in before you're starting to complete your destinations, and because you only need 2s and 1s, you really feel like you're achieving stuff quickly. Therefore you really have to think of prioritise again, like, do I get the tickets now, or well, I might be able to collect the colours I need, and then if someone starts going where I want to go, I'll start playing my taxis. It condenses all those decisions and feelings you have in a Ticket to Ride game into a much shorter time frame, which makes them feel much more pressurised. My son, my 8-year-old, enjoyed it more than my first journey, and I think that is slightly because of the more complicated map. It's not necessarily got more spots, but it's got more routes, and he had no problem reading the tickets. So I was surprised by that, but for me that means that Ticket to Ride New York will be replacing my first journey in my collection. Downsides, I think it's a game that, because of its shortness, because of the fewer variety in the tickets, the journeys you'll be completing, that it's not one you can binge on. On the other hand, you will probably play it a couple of times in a row, but if you kept on playing it week in, week out a couple of times, you'd soon encounter people who just knew kind of the routes. And I've seen this in bigger Ticket to Ride where people know what routes you're after, so they deliberately block you, that sort of thing. But it works. It's not replacing Ticket to Ride Europe for me, but it will replace my little ticket to my first journey. And yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by this one. So, intimidation factor, zip. I mean, this is a great one. We talk about Ticket to Ride Europe as a gateway, but for people who are even on the fence about the length of time being played, bang, 10-15 minutes you've played a full game of Ticket to Ride. Rules, dead easy, apart from that one confusion. Like I say, I didn't find it confusing myself, but then I assume that I read it right. So, but there has been a little bit of questions raised on that online. And will it be going into my collection? Yes, it will be going into my collection, and my first journey will be going out. So that has been Ticket to Ride New York. Thanks very much for watching Board Deck and Dice, and a big thank you to Zatu as well. See you next time.